We're going to talk about the Georgia situation in a moment. But I have to say, listening to Senator Schumer, then, I've never had less suspense listening to a senator ask what the other side might do. He's asking, will Republican senators in Washington support what's going on in Georgia and other states around the country where Republican state legislatures are restricting voting rights as much as they possibly can? I don't think that's a very suspenseful question at this point.
It shouldn't be. It's really a shame that we are where we are, Lawrence. I think we have to really think about what is happening. While this is one, I think there are three big pieces. One, while this is certainly an attack on democracy, I think we have to really look at what the Republicans are seeking to do. I do think this is around being hungry for power. The second thing that I think that we have to really recognize is that the Republicans are really trying to legalize corruption. The bottom line is what they would like to do is really be able to rewrite what democracy is, and that essentially democracy would only be a shared group of people who would support them having some kind of advantage over being able to vote in the election. And so in many ways, what they're trying to seek to do is to legalize corruption. It's very similar that when we look at other countries around the world, when they change the rules, that those rules actually work for their benefit. When the president of a country decides that he's going to change the Constitution, so in fact that he has an advantage of winning, we call that corruption. But here we are in the United States, where there is a political party that is not operating in the goodwill of what is going to strengthen democracy, but they're creating laws so that they, in fact, would have an advantage. That is the pure definition of corruption. And I think the third piece, too, is also around what we're seeing around structural racism, that fundamentally what we know is that this is a punitive measure. It was a historical Black turnout in the state of Georgia, and to punish Black voters, what they did is they passed this legislation. And so we're going to have federal protection to make sure that voters all across this nation are protected, and that the foundation of our democracy is not only protected, but we have to strengthen it.
I'm struck by a couple of things about this new campaign finance law that the governor is supporting in Georgia. This notion that in the past in Georgia, they have banned fundraising during the legislative session by state legislators, which seems to be something that they did primarily just because it would not look good. Because surely you could structure your campaigns from your contributions from lobbyists around the legislative calendar so that you would be able to get enough of your contributions from lobbyists, especially the ones you're basically serving in the legislature, as many of these Republican members are. But now they don't even care how it looks. They're saying, we don't care that it looks bad, that we're going to make it legal to raise money from lobbyists on the same day that they are asking us to vote a certain way in the legislature.
Absolutely. That's why I said we're going to have to call this out what it is. This is corruption. There is a political party that is in this country that has decided that they're going to throw everything on the wall, and whatever sticks, they're going to go with it. Even when you look at what happened and when we're talking about campaign finance, this wasn't really based on a value system they had. This is literally based on what it was, a perception. And so now, given the opportunity, a vote that a bill that was supposed to be providing extra security, which we all know that's a farce. Here it is. They're using it as an opportunity to be able to pack their coffers. They're using it as an opportunity to be able to take dark money. They're using it as an opportunity to give themselves and their party an advantage.
And the other thing is this limit on individual donors. Georgia already has a very high limit of $18,100, $18,000 limit for individual donors. The federal limit is $5,800. It's really half that in the sense that that's $5,800 if you contribute to a candidate in the primary and contribute to the same candidate in the general. In the federal limit, for a senator or a member of Congress, you could go all the way up to $5,800. In Georgia, you can go up to 3 times that already, and now the governor wants that to be unlimited.
I mean, let's just think about it. It is what it is. It's almost like if it looks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. It's a duck. The bottom line is this is pure Corruption. They're literally trying to use the administrative process to give themselves an advantage. One, to disenfranchise and marginalize voters. Two, to literally, while we're looking at some of the egregious things that they're doing towards voter suppression, that in fact, to try to figure out ways that they can actually put an unlimited amount of money so that they don't have a sense of accountability. And three, they are literally in a power grab. And so we have to call this what this is. We have to literally make sure that we get For the People Act and the John Lewis Voter Advancement Act passed. We need that immediate. We need that now. And we are also going to put pressure on our state legislators. We've got to monitor what is happening on the local level, on the state level, and literally get extended protections on the federal level.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.